Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lancaster County Planning Commission, April 16th, 2025. A printed agenda is available outside the hearing room, and a copy of the full agenda, including the staff reports, are available online or at the Planning Department, room 213. The Open Meetings Act is posted just inside the doors at the back of the room. Out of courtesy for those attending this meeting, commissioners and the staff, cell phones may not be used in the chamber during any portion of today's meeting, and we appreciate your cooperation. The Planning Commission action on today's items is a recommendation to the City Council and the County Board. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held April 2nd, 2025.
So moved, Campbell.
Second, Joy.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
We will now proceed with today's agenda. The next item of business is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda will be called at the same time and will not be scheduled for a separate public hearing unless there is a request from someone wishing to speak or at the request of a commission member. I will now ask Shelley to read all of the consent agenda items into the record. Once those items are read, she will ask if there is anyone wishing to speak. If you wish to speak on an item on the consent agenda, we would ask that you stand and state that item. That item will then be removed from the consent agenda and scheduled as a separate public hearing under Section 3 of today's agenda. All items remaining on the consent agenda will be voted upon in total with a motion for approval. Shelley, will you please call the items on the consent agenda?
Item 1.1, change of zone 25009 from AG Agricultural to AGR Agricultural Residential on property generally located at 6205 West Denton Road. Item 1.2, use permit 140H to amend use permit 140 to reduce the rear setback requirement to 10 feet for lots in Block 7 and approve a mini warehouse self-storage facility on property generally located at Addermont Drive and Elger Drive. Item 1.3, miscellaneous 25003 for an amendment to the 2050 long-range transportation plan to update the cost, extent, description, and a year of expenditure for the North 14th Street project in the fiscally constrained urban roadway capital projects list. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on these items?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting these sites to be disclosed?
No.
If there is anyone here wishing to speak on these consent agenda items, please stand and state that item.
Okay, we do not see anyone here that would like to speak on the consent agenda items, so we would now entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
I would move that we approve the consent agenda, Campbell.
Second, Joy.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Consent agenda approved 8-0.
We will now proceed to public hearings. Prior to staff making a brief presentation, each staff person should state their name, agency, and address. The applicant will then be requested to present his or her testimony, followed by those who wish to testify in support, followed by those who wish to testify in opposition. The staff will then be given an opportunity to respond to the testimony, and then the applicant shall have an opportunity for rebuttal. If during your testimony you have copies of documents or materials you would like distributed to the Planning Commission members and or included as a part of the record, please provide them to the clerk. Each person testifying should state their name and address and shall have 5 minutes to speak unless additional time is requested and granted. The clerk will use the light system to help aid your timing for your testimony. Lights will appear on the monitor provided. The clerk will indicate when you have 1 minute remaining to wrap up your testimony. The red light indicates that your 5 minutes has expired, and once the final minute has lapsed, the clerk will indicate that your time is up. The Planning Commission will vote immediately at the close of the public hearing unless the Commission votes to defer action or to continue the public hearing. Shelley, please call the first public hearing item.
Item 4.1, Comprehensive Plan Amendment 25001 to amend the 2050 Lincoln Lancaster County Comprehensive Plan to adopt the University Place Sub-Area Plan, which includes a strategic vision for enhancements to the University Place neighborhood and a framework for achieving that vision. The sub-area plan is generally bounded by North 33rd Street on the west, Cornhusker Highway on the north, North 56th Street on the east, and Holder Street on the south, and the project area is approximately 835 acres located in Lincoln, Lancaster County, Nebraska. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
Yes.
I did serve on the committee, and I also have a business in University Place.
Me too. This was brought up at the Mayor's Roundtable, and we got update from the city on it. There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of this site to be disclosed?
Andrew Theroff, planning staff. This is an amendment to add the University Place subarea plan to our comprehensive plan. This was a big effort. It was over a year of outreach and development. It's something we're very excited about. We think it's something that we identified a lot of really good projects for the neighborhood. As you know, we did a briefing here 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to be pretty short with my comments here. I know we have some folks who want to speak about this as well, so I want to make sure they have plenty of time. I'm going to start by talking about our outreach activities. We did a mix of in-person and online events. We had 2 open houses. We had a virtual open house. The virtual open house was essentially the content from our first open house, where people could go online, interact with everything the same way as if they were at an in-person open house and leave their comments. That was available for almost the entire summer. We also did intercept surveys at neighborhood events. University Place has a great summer event called a Makers Market that's kind of art-focused booths. We had a booth at one of those Makers Markets where folks decorated tiles and drew what they liked about their neighborhood. And then as they were doing that, we could ask them questions about University Place. What do you like? What don't you like? What could be improved? We also partnered with local organizations like the Creative District Group and also Nebraska Wesleyan University. The process was overall guided by a stakeholder committee of business owners, residents, and other local stakeholders, such as Commissioner Joy. In total, we received over 500 written comments, which was really incredible and really speaks to the enthusiasm the neighborhood has for improving their neighborhood. And those comments provided a solid foundation for our plan recommendations. So our plan recommendations were organized into 3 topic areas. We had the North 48th Street corridor, neighborhood revitalization, and historic preservation. And within each of those were a bunch of sub-projects, I guess you could call those. The big things with the North 48th Street topic were a lane reconfiguration and streetscape enhancement. So right now, North 48th Street in that area of town is 2 lanes each direction, so 4 travel lanes total. What we're looking at is mostly a restriping that would involve having 1 travel lane each direction with a middle turn lane, and then one of the through lanes would be converted into on-street parking. We're also looking at other streetscape upgrades and even some fun stuff like banners and streetscape art and maybe crosswalk art. And then as part of that topic, we also look at targeted redevelopment opportunities along the corridor. The next topic area was neighborhood revitalization. So that's mostly focused on how we can use tax increment financing to improve things in the neighborhood. So we had some pictures outside, some boards of the fun graphics. When you look through the plan, there's all these really, really cool images. Most of those are North 48th Street, but we do want to make clear this is not just a North 48th Street plan. It is a neighborhood plan. It just turns out a lot of the neighborhood stuff we don't have flashy graphics for because it's not those types of projects. But things we're looking at potentially for the rest of the neighborhood would be, a housing or rental rehab program, maybe, sidewalk enhancements. And then there are also some other individual redevelopment opportunities in the residential areas that could be, residential mixed use or even just residential uses. And then the final topic area for our recommendations was historic preservation. Obviously, University Place is one of Lincoln's great historic neighborhoods. It was a former suburb, annexed in 1926, so it's got a somewhat unique history in Lincoln. We don't have that many suburbs that we've annexed over time. This topic area for a project looks at how can we preserve the neighborhood while also celebrating the modern things that make the neighborhood great, all of the arts initiatives and exciting architecture and things like that. So we looked at some opportunities for specific properties that could be designated as historic properties, but also a potential historic district along North 48th Street. This plan is part of a integrated planning effort. So we have the sub-area plan here today. We're also doing a blight study, an extreme blight study, and then a redevelopment plan. So the sub-area plan talks about a lot of things. It's not just TIF projects. It's all kinds of different projects. But for those TIF projects that we talk about, there's a process for that, and that process includes the blight study and then the redevelopment plan. The redevelopment plan will provide more details about exactly how TIF is going to be used in the neighborhood. So in terms of timing, we have the sub-area plan today. May 14th is actually when we're going to see the blight studies now. I think in the briefing we said 2 weeks from now. It's actually going to be 4 weeks from now. And then shortly after that will be the redevelopment plan. That's everything I have. Do you have any questions for me or for planning?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this place. And have you already had inquiries of developers wanting to support these redevelopment plans, and you do foresee that these buildings will truly be renovated and someone is interested in purchasing it and making them vibrant again?
Yeah, so one thing that's a real strength of the neighborhood is that we have had some recent success with redevelopment projects. So I've been talking about TIF and how we needed a blight study and redevelopment plan. A couple small portions of the neighborhood are already blighted and within a TIF district, so there have been some recent TIF projects, 48th and Holdridge, 48th and Layton, and then the 48th and Masson project, which will be being constructed soon, we expect. So there's a lot of interest that's been demonstrated in the neighborhood, and we expect that to continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. You are also serving as the applicant in this situation, so we will now be moving on to testimony. We'll start with testimony in support of this application.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joe Shaw. I live at 6401 Meeker Circle. I'm honored to be here today to support and urge you to approve the University Place sub-area plan. I'm the Executive Director of the Lux Center for the Arts, which has been a part of University Place for 48 years. We're now housed in our current historically significant building since the 1980s. Founded by University Place residents and Nebraska Wesleyan University professors, the Lux was established with a mission to serve as a vibrant artistic institution in Northeast Lincoln. Decades later, we continue that mission by offering art classes, summer camps, free exhibitions, and community outreach through local community learning centers. Over that time, we've also witnessed the decline of our neighborhood institutions, such as the UPCO Neighborhood Association and the University Place Business Association, as well as a constant ebb and flow of businesses. In 2021, we took an active role in revitalizing our neighborhood by commissioning 7 murals throughout University Place. Our goal was to attract more visitors to support local businesses and engage with the Lux. That effort marked a turning point, not just for us, but for the community. When the Nebraska Legislature and the Nebraska Arts Council introduced the Creative District program, we saw an opportunity. Partnering with Blix Theater Space, Nebraska Wesleyan, and the City of Lincoln, we proudly became a designated creative district in September 2023, which coincided with the creation of 3 additional murals. The plan before you today is the result of a thoughtful and inclusive process. The planning team listened carefully to community concerns, engaged a broad range of stakeholders, and produced a visionary yet practical plan. When I first saw the renderings, I was struck by how well they captured the spirit and potential of University Place. The plan includes improvements to the streetscape, creates inviting public spaces for festivals and gatherings, and proposes meaningful upgrades to city parking, lighting, and infrastructure. Like the murals, it provides a compelling visual and cultural backdrop for community life, one that can attract arts-related businesses, restaurants, bars, and music venues. Having served as both a planning commissioner and city council member in Huntington Beach, California, for over a decade, I can confidently say that few plans of this quality are produced without outside consultants. Hats off to this planning department team for getting it so right. I respectfully urge you to adopt this plan and move it forward so we can begin the vital work of recreating and revitalizing this historic neighborhood. Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Hello, my name is Lindsay Clausen. I'm the owner of Archway Studios at 4805 St. Paul Avenue here in Lincoln. And I'm here to express my strong support for the University Place sub-area plan. As someone who grew up in the area and worked the majority of my professional career there, helped establish Nebraska's first creative district in that neighborhood, and now owns an arts-based business there, I'm very familiar with the challenges that the neighborhood faces, as well as its incredible potential for growth, especially in the creative sector. And so the University Place business district is almost entirely small businesses. It's a part of what makes it special, but it's also a part of what makes it vulnerable. And so the district was really hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic, and then again during the really disruptive road construction project that followed. And many businesses didn't survive that. And so for those of us who are still here, we really are doing our best to adapt and invest in the future, but we really need the city to be a partner in that. So one of the biggest barriers that we have faced is the current street design. That 4-lane road that runs right through the heart of the neighborhood really moves cars quickly, but it is also at the cost of safety and walkability, which small businesses really rely on. And the sub-area plan proposes a variety of beautiful, wonderful traffic calming options, including a lane reduction and a variety of creative streetscaping. And these are the kinds of improvements that would really make University Place not just more functional, but more vibrant and inviting to both businesses and residents. And I'm sure there'll always be room for debate on the specific details, but I think saying yes to the sub-area plan is saying yes to a shared vision, direction, and a commitment to the neighborhood's future as a destination for the arts and for a vibrant community neighborhood. So I urge you all to adopt the University Place sub-area plan, and let's give businesses, neighbors, and future generation the kinds of environments where they can really thrive. Thank you.
Is there additional testimony in support of this application? Is there anyone here who wishes to testify in a neutral capacity, or anyone here to testify in opposition? Questions for staff? All right. Entertain a motion.
I would move to close the public hearing.
Second, Joy.
Ball,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Ebert,
Yes.
Edens,
Yes.
Fight,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Rodenberg,
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move to approve Comprehensive Plan Amendment 25001.
Second, Joy.
Discussion.
The city has done a great, the planning department in specific, has done a great job of pulling this all together, pulling the neighborhood together, pulling off a lot of different ways that people could comment on or put ideas forward on the different options. And I think that's a great roadmap for future areas that may be studied in the coming years too. So I'll be supporting it.
Yeah, I'll be supporting as well. I want to commend the planning department for a great job. I mean, between the interactive videos and charts to see what it was before and what it can be in the future was pretty amazing. Something I haven't seen before, done, presented. So excellent job. And then the community engagement, seeing a community come together like this for such a great, future enablement is wonderful to see, and has been nothing but positive outreach. So glad to hear that, and I'll be supporting it as well.
Additional discussion? Yeah. Go ahead.
I just am excited about this investment, and I always like to think of it as my neck of the woods, or technically my neighborhood neighbors. So it's exciting to see it in the North Lincoln and really create a place to go that's walkable. And there's bike trails that lead to it from my area. So to be able to get there as a destination is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I just echo the same sentiment. I mean, it's very exciting. It gets me goosebumps, actually, just seeing all those photos out there and the excitement of the folks who call it their home, but also their business. I spend most of my professional day in that area, whether I'm going from Northeast High School and East Campus and back and forth. So I also love that space, and I'm excited to see it flourish.
Being part of the process has been priceless. I really appreciate all the efforts of the planning department, the people in the community, and to see this vision go and become a reality through this sub-area plan has been amazing. And so I just celebrate all of you for all of your efforts. Thank you.
Well, I am going to just jump on to the train everybody else is on today, and also foreshadowing the rest of today's agenda. I just think this is an incredible example of how public service is used to help improve the way people live and work, and the amount of community involvement in this process has been really, really outstanding. And as somebody who's been a really big fan of the most recent developments in that neighborhood, I'm really excited to see what happens next. So thank you to the community and, of course, to our planning department for all the work on this. I think it's going to be really exciting. So, Shelley, will you call the vote?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Fight.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Approved 8-0. Next item, item 4.2, text amendment 25005, amending Lincoln Municipal Code to increase opportunities to grow and sell produce in residential and residential adjacent zoning districts, amending 27.02 definitions to update the definition of greenhouse and urban garden, 27.06.060 agricultural use group to allow urban gardens by right in districts that allow the use of agricultural, 27.62.030 agricultural use group conditional uses to update the conditions for urban gardens, and 27.70.010 home occupations to clarify that selling garden produce is allowed as a home occupation. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
Yes.
Mayor's Roundtable had a presentation on this one as well. We also had a presentation at our Clinton Neighborhood Organization meeting. I think that covers it. Everybody had great questions at both those events to really get a full understanding of the project.
All right, thanks.
Andrew Theroff, planning staff. So this text amendment is about primarily about local food in our residential neighborhoods and how do we support that. So I'm going to start by talking about what is currently allowed for agriculture in the city and then what's not allowed. So today what is allowed is back in 2016, we added agriculture as a permitted use in almost all of our commercial districts. So, I mean, that was a big thing, and there's still many cities of Lincoln size and bigger who do not allow that. So just in terms of our starting point, we're starting from a really good point with local food in Lincoln. In our residential districts, there's a couple things. Obviously, home gardening for personal use is allowed. If you have a home, you could have a garden and eat all the produce you want and give it away to your friends. And we're not addressing anything with that. That's still going to stay the same as it is. Also in residential districts, community gardens are allowed. So we call them urban gardens in our zoning code. And today we define urban gardens as having multiple gardeners. So today that would be a community garden. And we have a lot of great community gardens throughout our community. What is not allowed is in a residential district, if there was a vacant lot with nothing on it, an urban farmer could not buy or rent that lot and plant a garden, a tomato farm, or what have you. That's not allowed. A community garden is allowed, but an individual having the garden is not allowed. Also in our residential districts, produce cannot be sold on site. So if a community garden is growing produce, they would need to sell it at a farmer's market or somewhere else off-site. This text amendment looks to address those gaps, I guess you could say, with local food. And there's really two parts to this text amendment. The first is the urban garden part. So we'd be updating the definition of urban garden to say that it could be a group of people or just one person. That would then allow an urban farmer to acquire or farm a vacant residentially zoned lot. The other piece we'd be adding is that produce sold from the garden could be sold in a residential district with limitations. So if there's a community garden in a residential district, there could be a stand there that's selling the produce grown in that community garden. Some other limitations are we're limiting the number of days that the produce could be sold, and also the sales infrastructure. They couldn't build like a commercial building that's up year-round to sell produce from that garden. The other piece of this proposal is looking at home occupations. So today we allow home occupations or home businesses within homes with quite a few limitations, but we typically see things like handcrafts, maybe carpentry or like yoga studios, things like that. There are a couple things in home occupations that seemingly prevent someone from growing produce in their backyard and then selling it from their home. The first is that we require anything in a home occupation to be screened. So that kind of implies if you have a garden and you're selling that produce, you need to screen it, which we're not necessarily concerned about screening gardens in residential areas. The other piece is that for a home occupation, the home occupation can only be 20% of the home area. Again, if you have a big garden, that creates a problem there. So for home occupations, we'd be updating the conditions to say that if you have a garden, you don't need to screen the garden. And if you have a garden, that the 20% limitation does not apply to the garden itself. So really just a couple little tweaks that make it possible for someone to have a home garden and then sell the garden they grow from their home out of their home as a home occupation. Taken together, this proposal increases opportunities to grow local food, but it also increases opportunities for people in their neighborhood to maybe go down the block and buy some produce that was grown in their neighborhood. So it really just increases access to local food in Lincoln. This does align very well with our climate action plan, local food plan, and also comprehensive plan. Our applicant is actually Kim Morrow with the mayor's office. She's our chief sustainability officer. So I think I'll have her come up for a minute to share these connections into our broader food ideas, and then we can be here to answer any questions.
Good afternoon. Kim Morrow, the Mayor's Office, 555 South 10th Street. So we are excited to present this proposal today. As we face growing challenges in our food systems, local solutions, I feel, are becoming increasingly important to building a healthy and connected community. So I'm pleased to share a few more details about this. As Andrew just said, the initiative directly supports two goals in our local food system plan, two of the four, which are increasing access to healthy food for all residents and investing in our local food and farm economy to strengthen food production and security. So we believe everyone deserves access to fresh, nutritious food, and that building local food systems creates a more resilient community. Food security is also something we are looking at. Our city actually requires 1.5 million pounds of food every day to meet the dietary needs of our residents. 90% of our food dollars leave the state, and our grocery stores only stock a 3-day supply of food. Also, according to a UNL analysis, 20 of Lincoln's census tracts have low or very low access to healthy food. So all of these factors are pointing to the need to grow more of our own food here. As you heard from Andrew, we're proposing two specific code changes, one to allow individuals to operate urban gardens and sell produce on site, and the second to allow urban gardening as an approved home occupation. These changes will lead to more Lincoln residents growing and selling more local food. But beyond just increasing quantity, we're also excited about the diversity of foods that will become available. As you know, Lincoln is home to people from around the world who bring rich cultural traditions, including unique agricultural knowledge. Many residents have strong cultural connections to specific foods from their heritage, and this proposal will allow neighbors to grow and share specialized produce that might otherwise be difficult to find locally. Some examples are fresh herbs used in Vietnamese cooking, unique varieties of peppers from Mexico, vegetables common in Sudanese cuisine, eggplants in Afghani cuisine, and on and on. So we believe these gardens will become places where we celebrate the cultural diversity that makes Lincoln special. So in sum, we believe this proposal represents a pretty simple but powerful change that aligns with our resilient Lincoln values while also creating economic opportunities and strengthening community bonds. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for? Yeah.
So I'm aware of people that are already having pollinator gardens, food, herbs, that type of thing, and the weed control has come out and said this is a mess. And every item in the yard is either edible or pollinator or some benefit to the wildlife. Will this somehow change how the weed control board looks at these yards and these gardens?
So we're not proposing any changes to weed control in the way they look at it. I think that is a good segue to talk about something that maybe I should have mentioned out front, is there are a lot of existing regulations that look at things related to these gardens. We have a noise control ordinance. I'm kind of just reacting to the things we heard from when we talked to neighborhood groups. What about noise, with tilling and all that? We do have a noise control ordinance. We do have rules regarding chemicals and fertilizers that could be used as part of gardening operation. That's in our health and sanitation codes today. We have rules regarding composting in residential zoning districts. That's something else that's already in our health and sanitation codes. And then pesticides are, I guess I could say, regulated by the state and the feds more so than local, but there are, of course, rules for safe use and handling of pesticides. But that is a good point regarding the weeds, is that if it becomes an issue where someone is growing a food garden and it's violating something, or the weed control board has concerns with it, that's something that may need to be addressed at a future date if it becomes a ongoing issue.
Me? Okay. I am super excited for this. I'm definitely a proponent. I just have some questions. So is this going to be, this would also work for like our community crop sites? Can they sell at their community crop site? I'm thinking like the one near Gear Library, or the one like Mustard Seed Garden next to YMCA on North 70th Street. Are like, that's okay now?
Yeah, if this were to be approved by City Council as part of this approval, it would apply to all urban gardens, which are both community gardens and individual gardens.
Okay.
Yep.
So then my follow-up question is, now that this is allowable, is there a process where the city or county has to have these folks register so that you all know who's doing what?
That's something we're actually talking about right now with health. So that's I would say it's a positive thing about this proposal, is that it is a by right use.
Absolutely.
So you don't need to come to Planning Commission or City Council to get approval. You don't even really need to get a building permit if you're not building a shed or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So we are working with health to think about how we can track this, partially just for our own use to know how effective it's been, because being a by right use, no one necessarily has to tell us they're doing it.
Right.
If someone's breaking the rules, that's something we'd find out on a complaint basis too. So
and
we're looking at
leading to
opportunities.
That's where I'm going, is based on what Rich was talking about. Like, okay, so if more and more people are on the bandwagon, want to do this, how do we make sure we educate them about? I personally do compost. I did not know there was a composting rule and regulation. So I'm definitely going to look that up and make sure I'm not against that. But I didn't know that. So how do we make sure we educate our neighbors who are doing this, and it's a good thing that they're doing, but on those regulations of composting and herbicide and weed control and things like that? Yes, that's my point.
Do you want to touch on the education?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So I want to point out my colleague Anna Edding here in the audience, who is leading our local food efforts, and she gets a lot of credit for helping make this happen too. She has assembled what we call a Mayor's Community Committee on Local Food, which is a very large group of stakeholders who are working in lots of ways to increase local food production in our community. And education is one of the subcommittees that they have. So And we're working with the health department, other partners, Partnership for Health in Lincoln, lots of other community partners. And there's actually a lot of momentum about this right now. And so there's a lot more things happening that you'll probably be seeing in the news. So that's definitely on our mind, is we want to make it easy and clear and legal for people to start doing this.
Even like a great how-to sheet, like this is
Yep.
these are the best practices. I'm thinking even spoilage of food. I know
Yep.
I help Northeast high school students with our garden and several middle schools in the neighborhood in the Northeast region because we're food insecure, and we're always like trying to donate the food because we always have a lot in August and September, and sometimes you don't use all of it. So just knowing places that would accept this fresh produce even as a donation would be
Yep.
really beneficial as well.
If you go to our website, the Resilient Lincoln webpage, and click on local food, Anna has assembled a ton of information already that provides guidelines like that where you can donate fresh food.
Thank you. I will look at it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you got one of my questions answered. Thank you. Second one, what was the criteria around the 8 days per month and 30 per year?
That was really just looking at what other peer communities have done. So we looked at, places like Omaha did a local food ordinance, I think within the last 2 to 3 years. Kansas City has one, Masson has one. Basically, we just looked at our peer communities and saw what was a common number. And essentially, 8 days a month would mostly be weekends, if someone wanted to do it on the weekends. But that's really what it was seeing what other peer communities have done and what's worked for them and applying that here.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Not at this time. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we will now take testimony in support of this application. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in support?
Good afternoon. I guess I was looking around. There's a lot of people in this room that know a lot more about this than I do. So I'm like, what am I doing up here? But I just felt like, well, I'm here in support of this. My name is Ken Winston. I'm appearing on behalf of Nebraska Sierra Club and the Nebraska Interfaith Power and Light. We support local food and local food initiatives. Very glad to see that we have a policy. The policies that Kim Morrow talked about that have been already adopted by the city. Very proud that we live in that I get to live in a community that does this kind of stuff, that's supporting local food, and is making these kinds of strides. I think that's a really big deal. Glad that our mayor is leading the way on this, and I think that's very important as well. Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about this in terms of how this impacts can impact the community, and I think as Kim Morrow indicated, it's a sustainability and resilience issue on many levels. First of all, it's an economic sustainability issue. It can provide financial benefit for local gardeners. As a matter of fact, it could be a benefit for particularly low-income and marginalized communities where they could have some financial benefit, they could make some money, while at the same time providing themselves with more nutritious food. Socially, that was also mentioned. Gardens often bring people together. I know Tim Renna can talk about the way that their garden project and the Holly Hamlet has brought people together, building community and really a sustainable community. And when you build those kinds of relationships, they last. When you start talking to your neighbors, all of a sudden, and I guess one of the other things that I've noticed about things like gardening is that it is the way it cuts across political boundaries. There's a guy in my neighborhood who has different signs than I do during political seasons, but he's dug up his garden, his yard, and he's planted a pollinator and vegetable garden in his yard, and by golly, I mean, he's way ahead of me in that regard. So I mean, I've got a little garden plot in my backyard. It's also a health and nutrition issue, and that's also been mentioned. Just we all know instinctively that local fresh food is healthier, and it just tastes better. I mean, I'm sure you've all had the experience of getting a tomato fresh out of the garden and how much better that is than the ones you get at the store. So, and it's way healthier just because it's got the nutritional, it hasn't doesn't have all those issues of transporting it across the country. It's also an environmental sustainability issue because, as I said, you're not transporting things across the country. You don't have all those miles of greenhouse gas emissions that are involved in something being harvested and put on a truck and sent to a grocery store and all those kinds of things. So I just think this is a proposal. It's a very common sense proposal, and it just makes a lot of sense, and would encourage you to advance it to the City Council. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional testimony in support of the application.
Hi, my name is Kay Walter. I live at 605 North 26th Street, Lincoln, Nebraska. And I'm also one of the people who helped co-found the Holly Hamlet Neighborhood Garden. I want to speak in support of this for a number of reasons that really haven't been touched on as much. And that is, recently we met with a large group of people who are involved in social services. And as the social service safety net is being destroyed gradually, this is something that will help if, for example, food banks lose their funding and if people lose their SNAP benefits. So that's another side to this that I wanted to mention. Thank you.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much. Additional testimony and support? Anyone here who wishes to testify in a neutral capacity or in opposition to this application? Okay, do we have questions for staff? Okay.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Joy?
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move that we approve text amendment 25005.
Second, Joy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Being in the business of raising plants and such, we have seen a tremendous increase of people desiring many varieties of peppers, other plants that are less well known to most of the Lincoln community, but it's because of the ethnic growth that has come within our community from people all over the world. And ironically, one of the biggest problems that the Department of Agriculture has is people bringing plants into the country. And that's why that is there as you travel abroad and then come back in the country, that there's an inspection process and possibility. And so to get some of those plants, they have a difficult time, and it's not something that most of the U.S. population even knows or has eaten before. And this type of thing is going to allow not only the traditional home garden, but a lot of the ethnic populations in our city to be able to grow the things they grew up with, that they know. So I will be supporting this fully.
Yes, go ahead.
I have a lot. Planning Commission, just a kudos. We had a lot of questions at our neighborhood organization meeting, and I came here without one question because they were answered and put to bed there. All the questions he brought up that were brought up on this board were answered to the residents there. Again, we have nobody here in opposition, so that means they answered those questions, because there were concerns about noise and about people using fertilizers when they're trying to grow organic and all those different things, and they were answered. So kudos for your outreach to the community once again. I am in one of those census tracts. I know the people who go to bed hungry at night. This is a win for the city of Lincoln. And the more food we can put locally that people can walk to their neighbors because maybe they don't have the car to go somewhere else. And if you are relying on the food bank, it's changed over the years. But back when I was poor enough to need it, there wasn't fresh fruits or vegetables. So how do you get those in the hands of people at a cost-effective way? I mean, we're talking about selling fruits and vegetables, so there's still going to be a cost, but I'm sure it's going to be cheaper than your grocery store. And I would love to see kids with tomato stands over lemonade stands, and what a future we're giving our kids.
Discussion or comments?
Ooh, I covered it.
Yeah, you did. And I will just echo my fellow commissioners. This is a really, really exciting project for our community. And I grew up in an agricultural community, but my grandfather grew up here and was the guy who had so many zucchini that he would take them to his doctor appointments and hand them to the
Always a problem.
at the bank when he was depositing a check. So I am really excited to see the opportunities for potentially intergenerational work, entrepreneurship development, and what this is going to do in terms of helping us embrace the diversity of our fellow citizens while also finding ways to care for our earth. I'm just really thrilled to support this and look forward to the City Council approving it in 2 weeks. So thank you to our city leaders for developing this plan. Shelley?
Ball.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Ebert.
Yes.
Edens.
Yes.
Veit.
Yes.
Joy.
Yes.
Rodenberg.
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Approved 8-0. Next item, item 4.3, change of zone 21020C to amend the south of downtown plan unit development to create a sub-area 2 allowing a neighborhood support service use with a waiver to the maximum R7 height limit from 35 feet to 40 feet on property generally located at 919 South 12th Street. Are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed on this application?
No.
Are there any ex parte communications that took place or additional information you learned while visiting any of this site to be disclosed?
No.
Good afternoon, Ben Callahan with the Planning Department, 555 South 10th Street. This is a request for an amendment to the existing south of downtown PUD. Let's pull up here. Shown here. So the smaller area here is at 919 South 12th. That would be the area within the amendment that would be called out as sub-area 2. And then the larger black boundary is the existing PUD for the south of downtown. A little bit about the PUD here as well as, so it's kind of broken up into 3 different areas. There's a downtown transitional district, a mixed-use district, and then a neighborhood district along the south. The area, that sub-area 2, falls just within the downtown transitional district today. So currently, the site we're talking about at 919 South 12th, highlighted in red, is zoned R7. And it's existing vacant multifamily building. And then just to the east, there's an existing church in the F Street Community Center, along which is B3 commercial along 13th Street. And then pretty much surrounding this on the north, there's a city parking lot today. And then to the west and south is a mix of 2-family and multifamily residential. So currently, after working with the applicant, who is Community Action, they were looking for a place to relocate the existing gathering place, which is on Goodhue and E Street. After working with them, they're kind of meeting the maximum of that site. The gathering place offers evening meals, meal service to the surrounding residents, as well as additional services to those individuals. And right now they feel limited within their spot. There's no on-site parking or loading. So we've been working with them probably over 6 months on trying to stay in the neighborhood, what possibilities existed. And that's when they found this site, which was owned by NeighborWorks. And then before I get into that, I guess just so everyone's on the same page, so with this sub-area 2, then that would allow the neighborhood support service use group just on this site. And with that from our code, that's defined as associated with human, social, education, counseling, health, and other support services that are provided primarily for the support of the persons residing in the adjacent residence or residential area, but does not include overnight accommodation. So primarily on their Goodhue location, that's what they're operating at today under a special permit is neighborhood support service, and then they would be relocating to this site. So with the existing, it's roughly like a 2.5-story, over 100-year-old brick building that's vacant, in need of some major renovations. And so they've provided a site plan. With that, they're going to be extensively renovating the existing structure. And then pretty much the largest change to the building is going to be on the rear of the property, where they'll do a new addition, which they'll certainly talk about. I believe it's for an elevator and an additional stairway exit. And then add 3 parking spaces to help with any kind of staff that visits daily to park off the street, which they don't have today. And then as well as the loading dock, which would be accessed from the alley along the south. With that, they are requesting a waiver that would be built into the text of the PUD, and that's mainly a waiver to 40 feet for that addition on the south or to the west side for that elevator shaft, and then they're having a rooftop patio with that. Overall, then that would allow them to continue the evening meal service as well as different support educational classes on site, and mainly kind of following up with the comprehensive plan in the PUD. We felt this meets a lot of the goals in the comp plan, continuing these service in an existing neighborhood. The walkability within this neighborhood is extensive with sidewalks. This will be bringing it closer to a busier street, which includes a bus stop and then pretty much between 2 existing bike lanes, so considered very accessible with the site itself. And then with the PUD, it really, especially in the downtown transitional district, calls for the reuse and reinvestment of buildings in that site to bring more residential and neighborhood business back to this area of the city. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Probably have more of just a logistical question. So what, this is sub-area 2, which is going to allow for certain conditions or permitting in this particular area. There's a sub-area 1 that was done, I think, a year ago. At what point does it become part of the larger plan? Like, so can you have sub-area 1 through 10, within a PUD? And how does that, criteria work?
Yeah, and this PUD is a little different than your standard PUD just based on the size. I think it's over 44 blocks of the city. So with that sub-area 1, that was for Center Point, Center Terrace a little over a year ago on 13th Street. So that's how we built it. And as of right now, as different sites come in for a new use or renovation, we're kind of just classifying as its own sub-area. Oh. So this one it will just be tied to 919 South 12th. So it doesn't, sub-area 2 does not go over any other properties. It would just allow that use on this property.
Okay. So it's as it comes in and requests for a different usage under that particular plan?
Yeah, most likely. So in the future, if there was a different development, it would probably come in as a sub-area 3. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of classifying it to keep it exactly to that location, okay, rather than doing a blanket over the total PUD.
Oh, thank you.
If you ended up getting to sub-area 47, would you then say maybe we should relook at
yeah,
the
to fix it.
Okay. Do you have any additional questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Yes.
The city parking lot that's adjacent to this, would that remain an open parking lot that could be used by this facility during the day too?
It is open today, so that's been part of the discussion. Could be in the future if parking is needed for additional staff. It hasn't been locked down or approved on like a designated number of spaces, but we've certainly been in discussion with through the planning department and with community action as to whether, if the need arises, whether the city lot could also assist.
Okay.
Additional questions? And then, because this is a part of the PUD, then you are also the applicant, right? Or is there a separate applicant, right, as for the organization?
No,
Okay,
the
great.
applicant's here
I want
today.
to make sure, okay, great, thanks.
That would be me. I have a lot of handouts, Missouri. Okay.
Thank you.
Yay, technology works. That's a win. Good afternoon, members of the Lancaster County Planning Commission. My name is Heather Lockman, and I am the CEO of Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders Counties, 210 O Street here in Lincoln. Our mission is to partner with our community in fearless pursuit of anti-poverty solutions so we all have the opportunity to live well. Our programs focus on early childhood education, homelessness prevention, financial and family well-being, and hunger relief and healthy food access. And agency-wide, we serve over 19,000 individuals each year. Today, as you heard, I am here to talk about a plan supporting the future of one of our programs, The Gathering Place, which serves evening meals 7 nights a week to anyone experiencing hunger. Meals are prepared in-house by our small team of staff and served by volunteers on a nightly basis. The Gathering Place, which was originally founded by 6 community-minded individuals in 1982 and became a program of community action in 1997. For 43 years, operations have occurred in a historic home at the intersection of Goodhue Boulevard and E Street. Within its home environment, the Gathering Place has always been much more than a meal program. It is a place to belong, a place to establish friendships, and a place of hope that has been a stabilizing force in the neighborhood. As one of our guests recently put it, it's everybody's house. In recent years, need for the meal services provided at the Gathering Place has grown significantly. The graph you see here demonstrates the number of meals served by month over the past 3 years. In 2022, the monthly average of meals served was 2,900. In 2024, that average increased to 4,600. This data demonstrates that need in the neighborhood it serves is greater than ever. Community-level data also tells the story of our rising numbers. The neighborhood in which the Gathering Place is situated is characterized by indicators of greater need compared to the city as a whole. 56% of residents live at or below 200% of poverty, or about $64,300 a year for a family of 4. 96% of housing units are renter occupied, and average household income on an annual basis is nearly $52,000 lower than the city as a whole. In this map made available by Community Health Endowment, we see how this need impacts individuals' ability to live a long, healthy life. It is situated in the only tract in Lincoln where average life expectancy is between 55 and 60 years, or 20 to 25 years less than the average for Lancaster County. People accessing the Gathering Place live in the neighborhood and rely on it for meals. Often they're only one of the day. A sampling of guest data shows that 74% live within 1 to 12 blocks of us, and the same number walk to get there. Among those who use other methods of transportation, most ride their bike or use the public transportation system. Most of our guests are renters in the neighborhood. These are just a few of our longtime guests. We love and have loved the house in which we've operated since 1982. It is a house that embodies the vision of our founders and has indeed become a home to us and our neighbors. Despite this, it is no longer conducive for meeting growing needs of the neighborhood and our operational needs. Over the past 5 months, our team has worked closely with the City of Lincoln's Planning Department to assess the neighborhood and identify new prospective locations. While several options were considered, our search ultimately led us to this building, currently owned by NeighborWorks Lincoln and located at 919 South 12th Street. The building is double the square footage of our current and meets our top assessment priority, which was location. We know that the vast majority of those we serve at the gathering place are our neighbors. So maintaining our operation within walking distance of where they live and within blocks of our current location was of utmost importance. In confirming whether or not we were on the right track with this plan, we conducted a series of informal and formal neighborhood engagements, including within Your South Neighborhood and Everett Neighborhood Association boards, current gathering place guests, pop-up neighborhood engagement events, and an open house at the F Street Recreation Center on April 9th. Each engagement yielded affirming words and votes of support and provided important feedback to inform our future plans. The slide here provides a summary of some of that feedback shared. Preliminary drawings have been developed, and we anticipate that the renovation will result in a $2.5 million investment in the Everett neighborhood. Our approach to the renovation will be centered on preserving and restoring the original design components of the building while retrofitting the interior to meet our operational needs. Other significant enhancements will include rebuilding the front porch and constructing an addition on the west side of the building to support deliveries and to accommodate an emergency exit and elevator system. These will all support operational efficiencies. As Ben mentioned, a slight height waiver is being requested to accommodate the addition, and we anticipate that the renovation will take 1.5 to 2 years to complete, hopefully by April 15th of 2027. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I have our architect consultant, Greg, here too for design questions.
Would you like to introduce yourself before we start with questions?
Sure. My name is Greg Newport, 1954 A Street in Lincoln.
Thank you. All right, we're going to just start here and we'll work our way across.
What will happen to your present building?
I anticipated that question. That is something that we would love to be able to plan in partnership with the neighborhood and really do the same sort of assessment and engagement with neighbors and with other stakeholders in the neighborhood to determine really what does the neighborhood need. And of course, we would like to see it used for a mission-oriented purpose, but that's really our sole focus is making sure that it is value added to the neighborhood and supports our mission.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just wondered what accessibility to the front of the building, what are you going to do about that?
Well, there's two ways to address accessibility for this. There's a lift that will be installed on the front porch that is currently installed at the existing facility that will be moved over to this location. We also have accessibility through the elevator off the back. So
I always discourage lifts. So if there's anything else you can do besides a lift, think about it.
Okay.
Run it over. Call me.
Yep. Sounds good.
There's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Thank you.
I can look this on the map, but how far is this from your Goodhue?
About 3 blocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
3 blocks to the west. Yeah.
Really just curiosity. In reading, I was talking about how the on top of the roof of the new addition would be for staff only, right? It is not accessible to others. I thought I had read something, and maybe I was mistaken, about potential for growing things there too, but I didn't see that on the drawing. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about why add that space and why the decisions were made and how it would be utilized.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. That was really growing was the inspiration for incorporating that rooftop patio space on top of the building. We don't benefit from a great amount of yard space, and yet we've loved to be able to do container gardening to grow our own ingredients for incorporation into meals. We do have a focus on not only providing just food for the sake of food, but really wholesome food that incorporates fresh ingredients. So much much in alignment with what was presented earlier today. We'd like to be able to do our own growing, and that rooftop patio would be a space in which to do that.
I'd like to add too that we haven't really completed a full structural analysis of the existing roof, but that's one of the goals is potentially to have growing space out on that existing roof as well that we could then incorporate later once we know it's stable. So.
All right, additional questions?
I just have one more. Will the ownership stay with NeighborWorks?
No, it would be
will
purchased by
transfer
us. Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will take testimony in support of this application.
Commissioners, Charles Wesch, CEO of NeighborWorks Lincoln, 2530 Q Street. Yes, I'm the guy that bought this property. Our intention, and I will say, just to preface, I'm here in my capacity with NeighborWorks Lincoln, but also as manager of the South of Downtown CEO, and also as the CEO of the Prairie Roots Community Land Trust, which just last night voted to proclaim their support for this move as well. Obviously, NeighborWorks is the owner. When we purchased this property, I view NeighborWorks, part of our job and getting my staff on board with this is we are in the business of taking on the problem properties, and this definitely was one. We bought it, it was boarded up, it was vacant, it had been declared uninhabitable. And our original intention was to renovate it into 6, 8, 10 apartments. We got some initial construction numbers to do that, and that was enough to frighten me quite a bit. That would have been a lot of financing and some risk. But simultaneously, we started this conversation with Community Action, and working with Heather and Lisa and their team has just been wonderful. And seeing how these things have aligned with NeighborWorks owning this building, their vision for the gathering place, and I won't go on a vent about the fact that we need to feed more and more people every year. I will say, though, that as a nonprofit executive director, this maybe is the most refreshing meeting that I've been part of in the last 4 months. So thank you for that. Loving Lincoln today. So we are fully supportive of selling this property to Community Action, fully supportive of the gathering place moving to 919 South 12th. And to answer your question, the ownership would transfer fully from NeighborWorks Lincoln to Community Action. I view this as a win-win-win. NeighborWorks wins. We held a property, got it out of investor control. We found a use for it. Second win. Third win is, a $2.5 million investment in the Everett neighborhood. That's incredible. So, yeah, fully support. Love the idea. If you've never been to the gathering place, the volunteers and staff are literally like miracle workers, that they can feed that many people in that size of a kitchen. So I am so excited to walk into this place and see an industrial kitchen that meets the need and is really something to be excited about. So thank you. Answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Rose Hood-Buss. I'm the Executive Director of the Hub, Central Access Point for Young Adults. We're located at 1037 South 12th Street. Excited to be neighbors, closer neighbors with the gathering place. We have owned our facility for 15 years at 12th and D Street and are anchored in that neighborhood because we love that neighborhood. We recognize the need of that neighborhood. Many of the young adults we serve live in that neighborhood. Having the addition of the gathering place a block from us versus 4 blocks from us is a blessing. The young adults we serve are young adults that are accessing and are guests of the gathering place, and having continued access to supports and resources to ensure that they can thrive is important to us. not only is it important for us, for young adults, to be able to access that, but we have opportunities to partner with the gathering place in ensuring that the young adults and the community receive the supports that they need. So we're in full support of them being our neighbors even closer. Our young adults are excited to have them closer and utilizing those supports and resources. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, Chamber members. My name is Jill Smith, and I'm representing Union Bank. We've been partners of the Gathering Place for many, many years now, not only financially, but through our volunteers and our employees. We have a monthly volunteer opportunity for our employees, and I hear every month just how much our employees enjoy being there and getting to see firsthand the need in the community and being part of making a difference. It's personally one of my favorite places to volunteer with my family and my friends. And the people that they give services to are so appreciative. Like has been said, the kitchen is so small. It's smaller than even my very first apartment's kitchen, and that's saying a lot. And just what they do there is amazing, and that they do value nutrition as well. They're not just trying to get food out, but nutritious food, and what they're able to accomplish in a 2-hour volunteer shift is amazing. So we are in support of this, and we did support financially to purchase this new building as well.
Additional testimony in support of this application? Is there anyone here who wishes to testify in a neutral capacity or in opposition to this application? Okay, do we have additional staff questions? All right, usually at this point we have an opportunity for applicant rebuttal, but I'm not sure that you have anything additional you need to, but do you have anything else you would like to say?
I failed to recognize Lisa Jansen, who's here today. Lisa's our Gathering Place administrator, and she is the leader of the miracle workers that make that operation possible every night. So I just wanted to recognize you, Lisa. Thank you.
I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Joy.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman, yes.
You threw me off. My goodness.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move that we approve change of zone 21020C.
Second, Joy.
Discussion. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have to say again, if you've never gone to bed hungry, the places like this save our community time and time again, and anything Lincoln can do to have one less person go to bed hungry is a win.
Yay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's great that the different organizations that work even more so together to make things like this happen, to help those who are less fortunate in our community. I'm all in favor of this.
At the risk of becoming really personally emotional about this one, I will also be in support, but I have to just echo what one of the testifiers said previously. Like, today is a good day to be a part of the Lincoln community. There are good things happening, and people care about taking care of their neighbors and seeing good things happen. So I will also be voting in support of this application.
All right, Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Rodenberg?
Yes.
Ryman Yost?
Yes.
Approved 8-0.
Yay. Got one more. Come on. We can do it.
Item 4.4, miscellaneous 25002 for review of the fiscal year 2026 to fiscal year 2029 transportation improvement program for conformance with the current Lincoln Metropolitan Planning Organization long-range transportation plan. Are there any expert communications to be disclosed on this application?
No, they're not.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Paul Barnes with the Planning Department and the Lincoln MPO, 555 South 10th Street. I think it's a great day to talk about transportation in Lincoln, too. How about that? Yes. All right. Well, we did a briefing of the TIP before you 2 weeks ago, and so we're here for the public hearing. I just wanted to highlight a few things. Not going to take too much time, but I can also answer any questions. So this is the annual transportation improvement program that comes before you. Your task is to review the projects as to their conformity with the long-range transportation plan. This TIP is a 4-year program of projects from federal fiscal year 2026 to 2029. The MPO is covering Lincoln and all of Lancaster County and comprises agencies such as the City of Lincoln, Lancaster County, Nebraska Department of Roads, StarTran, Lincoln Airport Authority, the Railroad Transportation Safety District, and other public and private agencies that utilize federal funding. During the review of projects, we do have a process that we put in place that we follow through our management plan and through federal rules. So we do have a subcommittee of our technical, MPO technical committee that looks at projects and programs them and forwards that on to the MPO Technical Committee. That committee has met and has recommended approval, which is now coming forward to you. Your recommendation will then be forwarded to the Officials Committee, which will meet on May 2nd. At that point, the recommendation and the document will be forwarded to the Nebraska Department of Transportation, where they will then combine it with their state transportation improvement program and publicize it across the state for comments. Ultimately, the TIP will be approved by the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Authority and be in place and ready for the federal fiscal year, October 1st. I did want to mention a couple of other items. We did have some changes to a project in the TIP from when you have seen it. That would be the RTSD project for 33rd and Cornhusker. The grade separated crossing there. Really the changes were reflecting some changes in funding and some numbers over the years that are included in the TIP, but really the project ultimately is still whole and is still in there and moving forward. So we just wanted to show more accurate figures as that project continues towards construction and completion, which will be a great project for Northeast Lincoln.
Yes, for sure.
I also wanted to note that the quarter-cent sales tax, also known as Lincoln on the Move, good news, was renewed by Lincoln voters, this time for 8 years. So the current sales tax is going to carry through September 30th of this year, and then the new sales tax will pick up and carry through September 30th of 2033. So we will be talking a lot with city staff as well as community members as to how those funds will be put into different projects across the community for that time period. A small portion of that also goes back to the RTSD for their 33rd and Cornhusker project. I would say that overall we have not received any comments in opposition, and I can answer any other questions you have. I believe we have some other staff from departments as well.
Questions? I appreciate the briefing that we had previously and opportunity for people to ask a lot of questions and really detailed information. So thank you for making sure that we're all prepared. Looks like we don't have any questions at this time.
Right.
Oh, Dick does.
Oh, sorry.
Paul?
I was wrong.
Will this then, with the passage of the quarter-cent continuance, will this move projects up or will it add projects?
Dick, I think that's a great question. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I think we're going to have more conversations about it. I'm sure that there were projects that we wanted to do with the previous quarter-cent sales tax. We're probably going to open it up for more community conversation, look at the conditions of roads and the needs in the community, and probably come up with some priorities through that process.
Thank you.
Yep. I will note that you'll see likely that funding then coming forward in the new capital improvement program for the city, and probably parts of the TIP.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Anything else?
Well, I think we're good. All right. Is there anyone here who wishes to testify on this application, either in a supportive, neutral capacity or in opposition?
Seeing none, I would move that we close the public hearing.
Second, Joy.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Public hearing closed.
And I would move that we approve miscellaneous 25002.
Second, Joy.
Our briefing was very thorough 2 weeks ago, and that helped a lot to simplify the process today. But I just want to speak overall on today's agenda. What a pleasant agenda versus some of the situations we've faced in the past. These were all great projects to enhance our community. So I'll be voting for this.
Discussion?
I think that a lot of time and effort went into this. I was very appreciative to see the updating with the 33rd and Cornhusker, very important project on the north side of Lincoln. It's exciting, and as fellow Commissioner Dick brought up about the sales tax that was extended, it's going to be great to see what we can do more for the area.
All right. Thank you. Shelley?
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
Approved 7-0.
At this time, anyone who wishes to speak on an item not on today's agenda may do so.
Seeing none, I move that we adjourn.
Second, Joy.
Ball?
Yes.
Campbell?
Yes.
Ebert?
Yes.
Edens?
Yes.
Fight?
Yes.
Joy?
Yes.
Ryman Yost.
Yes.
We are adjourned.